Hello once again, Rabbi,
Hello, Joe.
and welcome back, Garry, the rabbi's cousin,
Thank you.
who
Good.
in our last episode mentioned that he was recently diagnosed with stage 4 lymphomic cancer,
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I will probably never remember that because I don't like to think about it. And Garry, on the other hand, you're doing an incredibly good job of thinking about it and dealing with it. And I must say, kudos to you, sir. My uncle, who was a surgeon and the head of a hospital, was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer at one point, and he declined all treatment because he said, the most it's going to buy me is an extra 6 months, and I'd rather spend the time feeling better and having a beer now and then and not worrying about anything because it's not going to change that much one way or the other. Is that the kind of attitude that you're taking? I know you're talking and you just took a chemotherapy treatment, correct?
Correct. I've thought about it before, and if the treatments I'm getting and the medication I'm taking is preventing me from suffering, then that's a plus. If I find out that it's like absolutely terminal, like within the next few days, it might be like, why do it? I mean, I have some issues with my back that may need surgery, but it's like, no, I'm not going to have surgery. I don't know how much longer I have, but to have it lying in the bed recovering from back surgery doesn't seem to be pleasurable to me. So I'll forego that surgery.
Well, it's the standard practice is not to say to someone, you have 6 months or 3 months. Whoever told Joe's friend with the brain cancer, whatever doctor, wasn't properly trained. What's appropriate is to say, after 5 years, this many people are alive with your diagnosis, or after 1 year, these are the number of people alive, without saying what's going to happen to you, because you don't know you. But we do know statistically that after 5 years, 60% of people with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, however, that's stage 1 and 2.
Mhm.
I haven't seen the figure. So, but that's how it's approached, Garry, not, oh, you only have 3 or 4 days left. You want to continue treatment. You'll be presented with this kind of weird statistic about who is alive after or who. And if a brain cancers and pancreatic cancer are not good diagnoses, and usually after 1 or 2 years, no one's alive.
Right. I did have a friend who passed away from pancreatic cancer. I think it was within a year of the point where he told me he had it. And, he had 3 strokes from that time that he had it to the time he died as well. And yeah, it just ate him up. And he was not having a pleasant life doing this. I mean, he was lying in bed all the time. He can barely speak, or you can barely understand him. Just like my father. I mean, he was bedridden for a year or more. I don't want that. I have
A living will.
living will that pretty much says, if I can't have a good quality life or decent quality life, then pull the plug. I don't need it. I've done my time.
During the break we had, you mentioned that you don't like the idea of people treating you like you're a piece of glass and that you're not capable of doing things, and people are running around trying to worried about you all the time, and you didn't like that. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because I've had friends who are sick, and it's almost the human reaction. This way I can do something. Even if I'm not a doctor, I can, go get a glass of water or something like that.
Exactly. And I've like I said, I've had COPD diagnosed now for since 2013, so for quite a while. And I work for a charity, which I've worked for now 30 years, and involves a lot of lifting and moving and, activities. And even when I just had the COPD affecting me, I was breathing a little heavy. I mean, that's part of COPD. You don't really breathe easily. And every time I seemed to breathe heavily, they'd all get worried that I was going to fall down and die. And it's like, sit down, sit down. I said, this is my new life. This is how it is from now on. And I deal with it. But they didn't want to listen. And then when they found out I had cancer, it got even worse. Oh, you don't do that. Just sit over there. We'll take care of everything. Just tell us what you need us to do. Really? And that was when they thought I only had stage 1. They don't even know I have stage 4 yet. So I could just imagine now what they'd do. They'd probably be carrying me out to my car, or maybe hiring a driver just in case, so I wouldn't die on the way home.
When I was co-facilitator of a cancer support group, which I did for 100 years, and chaplain with hospice, that was a standard annoyance with our patients. They wanted to be treated like they were fine. And if you couldn't do something, they would just say, I can't do it. Will you help me? But it was and this is a message I want to get out to our listeners. It's incredibly upsetting, annoying, disrespectful to treat someone as if they're already in the grave or close to it. You treat someone as you would treat anybody. And if someone needs help, you give help if they ask for it. But don't assume that if someone has a cancer diagnosis or COPD, that they're now incapable, because it's a disservice. It's just not reasonable. So what you're expressing, Garry, is pretty consistent with what everyone I've ever worked with has said. And many people will tell me that they played the diagnosis down, that they didn't tell someone they had stage 4 because they knew how they were treated when they were told they had stage 2. And they didn't want the treatment they knew they were going to get.
And you're right on point. I have friends that, and people who just recently, when I spoke to, knew that I had stage 4. And the first thing they do is, if you need anything, I'll even drop chicken soup off at your house anytime you want. Just call me. I'm going to drop it off. No, not a problem. Another friend who always had my back, but to rely on him for if I needed a ride, if he was working, I knew that wasn't going to happen. He was working. I'm not going to pull him out of Baltimore to come back and give me a ride or something. He's like, oh, if you need anything, just call me. Even if I'm at work, even if I'm in Baltimore, any day, time of night, whatever, just call me. I'll take care. I'll help you. I know that's not going to, it's just a reaction of, you're sick. I'll do whatever I can to help you.
But that's that kind of thing is a little different from when you're with someone. Oh, don't get up, Garry, or don't lift that, or Garry, go sit down and relax and watch us. That's what's upsetting, because you can do what you can do.
You just described my full experience this year with the charity. I mean, it was pretty much all that. Sit down, don't lift this, don't lift that. Okay, you won't want me to do anything? I feel like I'm letting the charity down. I've done this for so long that now I've become an invalid. I've become inactive.
The next thing that people find is, oh, you have to fight it, Garry.
Yeah.
As if there's nothing, you have a disease. And again, all the patients I've ever dealt with all found that frustrating and annoying. And they felt they were letting people down, because what do you fight?
Yeah, I mean, what do I do? Punch myself? Or I run out and drink a whole bottle of aspirin, figuring maybe that'll help or whatever. No, I do what I've been told to do. I take the medications as I'm supposed to. I see the doctor when I'm supposed to. I do the CT scans, and that's the other thing too. That's in a way sort of funny, is that I had once looked up about CT scans because it is radiation. And I've also wondered, said, well, how much radiation can a person take, and what effect does CT scans have? And I think I read something from the Mayo Clinic or something, Johns Hopkins, that says, don't worry about the CT scans. As long as you don't have like 25 or more in your lifetime, you're fine. I've already had about 30 of them. And my life isn't even over. So if the lymphoma doesn't get me, the new cancer I'm going to get from all the CT scans probably is going to get me. So it's a win-win situation for them. And there's nothing I could do about it because the only way they could actually check the status of my cancer is through a CT scan.
Has anyone said to you, you have to fight it, or aren't you at that stage yet where people have, has anyone said it?
I really haven't heard. Well, the only one who may have said that to me, it may have been my sister. Like, okay, you got to fight it. You got to stay positive. I'm always positive. I mean, nothing I can do about it. So there's nothing, well, I get down on myself. But I've had a few people in the past say something along that, but not really push it. I mean,
now that it's stage 4, you've completed 1 round of chemotherapy.
Actually 4.
I mean 4. Yeah, you did 4 treatments, 1 round. I mean, one grouping of 4 treatments. Right. And you're going to meet with your doctor again later in this month to see what happens next.
Yes, I've got a CT scan scheduled for the end of the month, and then the following week, early in the week, I think it's the Monday because he's here locally at the new hospital. I have an appointment with him. I guess they want to give the chemo time to see if it did anything. And the CT scan will probably show whether it had any effect or had no effect or whatever. And then at that particular point, it's going to be like, well, this is where we go from here. I mean, he's already showed me things on his computer, here. And that's how I knew I had stage 4. He didn't come right out and tell me, but I'm watching him do the computer and he went right to stage 4. And I'm like, you went right to stage 4. What's that all about? He says, well, you are stage 4. Like, surprise. I mean, I don't know why, but the doctors don't want to come out and tell me what I have.
So you're on the road, and by the end of January, beginning of February, the doctor will tell you what the next course of treatment might be, whether it's more chemo, whether it's a protocol, whether there's an experimental. But right now, you just have to wait for the next treatment.
Right. He did. He did in telling me it was stage 4 and saying, okay, where we go from here. He says, here's some options. He said they just, the FDA just approved a pill this year to treat the cancer. I guess they had trials on it, whatever. I don't know the name of the drug. I got to contact him so I can find out if my insurance covers it or if it doesn't, and it's really expensive, where I can go to maybe get it a little bit less or get involved with a trial. If they're still doing trials, say, okay, well, I'll volunteer for the trial. That's
Gary, if there was something that you could tell everybody, could you summarize one piece of advice to all those people who are treating you gingerly or afraid to say anything or afraid to let you do anything? I mean, we all want to be able to help in some way, even though there's no real way to help. What would help? What could people do that you would appreciate?
Just, be there if I need support. Just support me if I need help. If I'm having a bad day or something, I want to talk to somebody about it or whatever. But I haven't really had those. I haven't really had to talk, but it does help sometimes when you talk to other people. It just lets out things that, you have inside of you that you haven't said except to yourself. But I tell people that, if people are pushing you and saying, fight this, the best thing, like anything else, is just to say thank you and just sort of you move on, because they're going to continue to tell you that, no matter what you say, they will continue to say, don't do this, don't do that, fight it.
And to pick up on what you said, Gary, in my own experience, what we want to leave people with is treat you as you, and
right.
Don't treat a diseased person. Treat you, and what you can and can't do is what you can and can't do. But too often people get treated because of their illness, or they're treated illness, not treated as a person. And I'm picking that up, and I've heard that from others as well.
Right. It like I said before, it is a bit annoying, but it's just the nature of people. And I, like the cancer, I accept that. I accept, how other people want to treat you, even though it might be wrong. I mean, to look at me, you never know that I was stage 4 cancer or that I had any other issues. Nobody really can tell. But these people that do know it, and they know that you've been active, whatever, they treat you different. I mean, I have a friend that I used to play golf with almost every weekend. And since he knew I had the COPD and it was getting a little bit worse even before the cancer, he stopped asking me to go and play because he thought I was going to probably fall dead by swinging the club on the golf course. It's like, no, I can still play golf. Well, now I have problems with arthritis in my fingers, which is stopping that. But even then, I'd still try to grab a club. I could have still played. But no, I'm sorry, you can't do that because you'll be breathing heavy.
A person's a person, no matter the disease. So you don't want to treat someone as if it's a disease. You want to treat the person. And we all have, whether we wear glasses, whether we're left-handed, right-handed, whether arthritis. I mean, everyone is something. So rather than focusing on the disease or the something, right, Gary? You
Right.
want people to say, gee, can you play golf this weekend? Not assuming that you can't. Or, gee, let's go out for lunch, rather than assuming you can't go out for lunch.
Right.
Start with the assumption that you're a person.
Yeah.
You're you.
And if he said, hey, want to go out to play golf? I said, well, my finger's hurting. I don't think I really can, do it maybe next week or whatever. But I never got that chance. He just assumed that I was too sick to play.
Well, I'll play golf with you, Gary, but not for money because I stink. But
don't worry. I'll be playing with one hand. So, that'll even up the field.
Oh, and then we are playing for money.
Yeah.
But God bless. And thank you for coming on and sharing your experiences with us. Thank you, Rabbi, for encouraging him to join us, or whatever other underhanded system you may have used in order to cajole him into being here. And we look forward to hearing more from the Rabbi every week. And Gary, I'm looking forward to that golf game.
No problem.
I think we should arrange a threesome for the three of us to play.
Oh, and you got that golf course right there.
Yeah.
It's going to be the biggest threesome in the world. I can tell it right now.